Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today I've got this fun house Playfield, and my goal here is it's got, I don't know how well you can see, it's got mylar in front of the slingshots. And I want to touch up this Playfield and clear coat it, and I need to get this mylar off. So I'm going to try to use some free spray and get this off. So the ultimate goal is this is going to go into another fun house. Let me show you the one it's going to replace. So here's the game that it's going to go into and replace. This playfield is pretty roached. It's got mylar over the whole thing, and the mylar is lifting, and just a lot of wear. You see up in there, that red is just completely gone. Really, some of the worst of it's right over here. And unfortunately, a lot of this wear is under the mylar also, so it's really pretty far gone, to be honest. This would be a hard one to bring back. But anyway, I've got this other one in the other end. And by the way, Mirko sells a brand new playfield, but honestly, the reviews on the Mirko playfields are, I'd say they're mixed. That's the reports I get. I've had some people say they're great, and other people say absolutely don't ever buy one. So that's mixed to me. In any case, I got this other one. I got a good deal on it, and it's in really good shape. And it's got a couple of small wear spots. I'll show you. So here's this replacement. It's got a wear spot here, a little bit right there. It's got some ball trail there. That'll probably clean up. You can't even really see those ever. Anyway, a little bit of wear right here. Not too bad. The inserts have a little bit of crazing to them. I think the clear coat will really help. Let me find my naphtha. So one way to kind of tell how much better things might get after you put down some clear, or even just a good waxing, is to just like see that insert, how it's all crazed up, is just lay down some naphtha on there, and it'll kind of absorb into all those cracks, and you see most of it goes away. There is a little bit of ink missing, but it's just a real quick and easy way to see what it's going to give it, that wet look. And really, like this one there, it doesn't completely alleviate the problem, but it's really not near as bad as it looks once it's wet. And by putting on a clear coat, it's going to make it look wet again. So I think the inserts are going to be okay. Yeah, here's one that's really looks pretty bad actually, but once it's wet, it really looks a lot better. And sometimes you kind of work it in those cracks a little bit, and then put a little bit more. By the way, this naphtha is really completely safe for your playfield. As far as I know, every kind of paint. I think it's the safest liquid you can put on your playfield. So I use it liberally to clean. It's fairly, see, that's going to look really pretty decent. So back to the goal here. I am gonna get some freeze spray here, and this one fortunately has a little tiny tab where it's already coming up because it got laid over this insert and it didn't stick. So I'm gonna start with this one, get some tweezers so I don't freeze my fingers off, and try to get this off. So I'm using this super cold 134. I've had this stuff for a long time. Actually, I froze a few warts off the kids with it, to be honest. So I'm gonna just give it a good spray here first. What I'm gonna do is go get the stand so I have both hands. Well, that's coming up real easily. I'm barely pulling on it. Ah! Looks like I ripped it a little bit, missed a piece, so gonna have to find, yeah. That's unfortunate. There we go, got it. Wow, that came up super easy. There is a little bit of residue. I'm not gonna do anything until it gets back to room temperature. It's still pretty cold. But I'm gonna lay down some flour and then some alcohol and get that up. But next I'm gonna swap over and do the other side. Hopefully this other one works as well as the first one did. Let's give the whole thing a good freeze. See if I can get a corner started up. Seems like the most dangerous part. Maybe I'll try the other corner. It's hanging over this insert a little bit. I was lucky because the other one was already there. Yeah, this one's coming up now. There we go. I thought for a second I pulled up the paint right there, but that's just, those are just little white marks. They're the same white marks as over there, so that's cool. So that one came up intact. Got the whole thing. So that was relatively easy. Came off pretty nicely. I'm happy with that. So we'll get some flour next and throw the flour on there, soak it in some alcohol, and get all the sticky up. All right, so I got the mylar up, but there's still, if I get it in the light, there you can see the outline of the mylar slingshot there. On this other side, you see that? It's still quite sticky. So what I'm gonna do is take a little flour and just kind of try to get that to work in a little bit. And after I get this flour in there, I'm going to get some alcohol and let the alcohol dissolve it. Hopefully it will kind of bind up the flour and I'll be able to get it off the board. If you don't use the flour and just try to use the towels, the stickiness dissolves, but it ends up getting diluted and spreading out, and then when the alcohol evaporates, it's all over the place. So this is a way to kind of actually remove it from the Playfield. I'm kind of rubbing it in there a little bit. Try to get it stuck in there best I can. So I'll put you on the stand and I'll get to work on this. Okay, so I've just got some regular rubbing alcohol. I just got it in this bottle, make it a little easier to apply. I'll let it soak in there a little bit. And Django is crying because that's what he does.
Such a sad baby.
Actually, it's 2:37, and at 2 o'clock, he likes to go out and have a romp.
He's telling you.
He's telling me I have been delinquent.
Oh, he's so abused. He's so abused.
I feel like this is kind of working. Still sticky. Just to go another shot or two.
This is also how to get peanut butter out of a carpet. Mothers everywhere know.
Well, I'm making a mess if nothing else. Well, it's a lot less sticky now. Although it's still tacky a little bit. Certainly making a mess on the floor because all the stuff is going through the holes in the Playfield. There shouldn't be any over there. I mean, it should be just right here, Jane.
Okay, well, it was sticky, so.
Yeah, it's still a little sticky over here. I think that's just general gumminess underneath there because nobody's cleaned under the slingshot in 5,000 years. Because we really haven't cleaned any of the playfield yet.
Mm-hmm.
That or it got smeared over there just during this process. I can't feel it anymore. You can still tell where the mylar is, or was, but of course you can because it was protecting the paint. The paint's more brilliant underneath it than adjacent to it because it was underneath it. It didn't have 5 million balls running across it, so it did its job. But that got rid of the stickiness. That worked pretty well. So I guess next thing we're going to do for this playfield is try to get the whole thing really clean and then put a clear coat on it. I'm considering putting the two-pack, the two-part spray can. It's a true 2K paint. You break open the can, or the can's got a little reservoir inside of it that you break open, and it's got the hardener inside the can, so it's a true two-part paint. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. I haven't decided for sure, but in about, yeah, probably by the next segment of this video, I'll have that figured out. What in the are you doing?
What in tarnation? Sanding the playfield ever so gently.
What grit are you using?
Teeny tiny.
Teeny tiny.
Teeny tiny.
That would be 800. And what is the purpose of the grit that you're using?
Well, the paint's got to stick.
Django is just giving you funny looks, or me funny looks. He's under the table just looking at me.
He's guarding me because I have my
He's
hands
photo
full.
bombing.
I have my hands full, so he's making sure he's watching. He's got me covered.
So we were going to do the touch-up before the clear, but we decided to do it between coats. We're going to put down a coat of clear, and then we're going to touch it up, and then put it down the final coat of clear. So the weather's supposed to be good tomorrow, pretty warm. It's early December, so I kind of got to pick a warm day. So we're going to the garage, and it's not fully heated out there, so got to have at least, I think, 55 degrees, I think is what they recommend for this, that two-pack paint. So anyway, it'll be that for sure in the garage anyway. So
You can, I don't know if you can tell on the photo, but there are parts of this board that are different from other parts of this board. Somebody worked on it before.
yeah, I can see you're pulling stuff up because in the entrails it's got color to it. So
Yep.
yeah, don't go too far. You just want to get it.
Not going too far.
Just get a little scratched up so the clear will stick, and then we'll go from there. So in the last clip, Jane was sanding this thing down, and originally the plan was actually to do all the touch-ups before we did any clear, but the playfield wasn't taking the paint very well, so we decided to just go ahead and sand it, roughen it up, and I'm gonna put it down a clear coat today, and then we may end up, well, we'll definitely sand it, at least roughen it up again, and then and maybe sand it smooth, depending on how lumpy it looks after the first coat comes down. And then we'll do the touch-ups, and then we'll put another coat of clear coat. So today I'm going to just some naphtha. I'm gonna clean it up real well one last time. I've cleaned it 15 million times already, and we cleaned it a couple times just after sanding it lightly. And so I clean it up one more time, and I've got a tack cloth. I'm gonna tack it. I'm gonna put it in the other room. The stuff I'm using is this 2-pack It is nasty stuff. You got to take all the precautions. You want to be in a real well ventilated space or outside. You got to wear goggles, a mask, organic filter, all that. At least, if not a ventilated hood. So you got to be careful with that stuff. It's pretty nasty. So I'm going to, like I say, one last clean up, tack cloth it, take it to the room, tack it again, and then I'm gonna shoot it. And hopefully it comes out all right. We're all gonna find out here in a little bit. So I just liberally throw on the naphtha and try to wipe it off. I'm gonna do this a few more times. I found a couple nuts that I had forgotten to take out, so I got those off. Oops, dropped my rag. Okay, I'm about ready to go paint this sucker. Wish me luck. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes since I started. It's hard to hear it because I'm wearing a mask. I've just been dusting it, so it's still kind of sandy looking. I have not flooded it yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to with this can. I've got 2 cans for this job, and we still got to do the touch-ups yet. So it's not really necessary I get it flooded and smooth on this coat, but I've still got about a half a can, and that has a pot life of 48 hours, and I'm not going to get this touched up and ready to fill before I'm done with this, before the 48 hours is up. So I'm going to go ahead and use the whole can. So I may, depending on how much I have left, I may go ahead and flood it at the end, but this has not flashed off completely yet. I just put on the last spraying. So I started with just like one coat, super light. So that's it, 30 seconds or a minute. I did that again. I did that several times, super light. I didn't, because it's almost impossible to get all the wax out in the little crevices and all the old holes, and it's just like there's always going to be a little bit of wax in it. We'll want the fisheye really badly, and this, at least in my experience, helps to keep the fisheyes down. If you get a good dusting of paint down, then the more other paint will stick to the previous paint. So that's what I do. I'm not a professional at this in it by any means, but that's what I found works for me. So anyway, I'm gonna let this. I keep thinking that's fisheye, but those are just all the little bolt holes. Anyway, I'm gonna let this flash for another. I think it's got another 10 minutes or so to go. And I'll put on down at least one more heavier one, and probably another heavier one, and then if I've got enough, I'll flood it at the end. All right, so it's about an hour later. I finished my can. The last spray I put on, I really didn't have enough to wet it fully, so it's still kind of, I couldn't flood it, so you still see the texture. But it is very glossy. So I'm gonna let this, so it's a Saturday. So this will sit till Monday. Then Jane will come in and touch up some of these spots, like that one. There's a few others, but actually I'm pretty happy with it. I will say one thing about it. I thought the last little bit of the can, you're wanting to spray straight down. You don't want to spray across it, and it's just like any spray can. You can't get the bottom out of it without holding the can almost vertical, and then you're shooting across, which you really don't want to do that. So you really can't utilize the bottom of the can. So I did go ahead and just waste the last little bit right there and wet it up that section there, because wasn't concerned about what happened, because it's below the skirt, so I can see what the fully wetted stuff is going to look like. So anyway, and the inserts, again, they're not looking perfect, but they're looking way better than they did. And I think they'll look even better yet. I mean, once I get it smooth, once I get enough paint on here to get it flooded and smooth, I think it's going to look a lot better. So I think this is actually going to turn out to be a real candidate. So I was concerned maybe this would just be a test run and a $300 wall package. So I paid $200 for the Playfield. I've got about $100 worth of supplies between the paint and the safety gear and consumables. So I'm hoping it works out. Otherwise, it'll be a $300 art project. So we will see. So Jane will paint this on Monday. and that'll have to set at least a day for all the acrylics. I want them to be completely dry, and then we'll probably sand it a little bit more, and then put that last can on, and hope on that last can I'm probably just going to do a one little quick dusting, and then I'm going to just lay it on heavy, and just try to use most of the can for one single coat. If I was thinking, I was originally thinking I would just, like I said before, just do the touch-ups and then put the can down and hopefully do it with one can. I don't know that you could do it with one can. Maybe if you just, I was really passive with it. I did a whole bunch. I spent a lot of paint dusting it, and I dusted and dusted because I didn't want to get the fisheye, and I didn't get any fisheye. I didn't get any runs or anything like that. So I'm happy about that. But I think if a person was more aggressive and didn't waste as much paint with the dusting, you could probably do one of these with one can. But that, I think it'd be kind of on pushing it. So 2 cans I think is probably more than enough, but 1 can's maybe not quite enough, but maybe you could do it. So anyway, that's my opinion on it. So it's been a week or so since I put the last coat of clear on this. Since then, I sanded it a little bit just to give it a little tooth on it. You can see on the insert, you can see a little bit better, but it's been lightly sanded, and Jane has touched up some of the spots that had some wear on it. But so today I'm going to put that other can of clear on there, try to get it pooled up and wet before I run out of paint. I've got a whole can, so I shouldn't have a problem. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this one more time with some naphtha and get it really clean, and then right before I spray it, I'm going to get a tack cloth and try to get any last remaining dust, and I'm going to spray it down. So hopefully this thing turns out pretty well. So here's where it's at. I just sprayed it about 45 minutes ago. It's all flashed off. So when I sprayed it, I just did one quick little pass, just kind of dusted it, waited about 2 minutes, and then I just flooded the playfield one time. And I still had about, I don't know, a quarter or a third of the can left. I decided not to go ahead and keep putting that on. I didn't want to start spraying something and not have enough to reflood it in case some of it dries. This stuff dries super fast. So you could see my fingerprint there, but just barely. It's not really, it's still soft, obviously, and it's not dried, but it's not tacky anymore. It's been 45 minutes, so I think it's going to turn out pretty good. I'm going to let this thing dry overnight and come back in the morning and pull it out and see what it looks like. So it's the next morning, and this paint has mostly dried. It's not completely dried. It doesn't fingerprint anymore, but if I put my nail in here, I don't know if you see that. May or may not be showing that, but trust me, I can still put a nail print in there, so it's still a little bit soft. So it needs a little bit more time to harden up before you do anything with it. But I don't think I'm going to sand it. It's pretty dang smooth. It came out pretty well. There is a little bit of, you see some little dust particles because I didn't have a dust-free environment to do it in. See a little bit of those ball trails were left. Didn't worry about this much to area. It's completely covered. The touch-ups turned out pretty good. That was a completely bare spot. If you look real close, you can tell one of them, this one here, is kind of the worst. That one matched perfect. This one looked the best before painting, and for whatever reason, that clear, it made that look darker. And because that kind of baby blue, it was a perfect match before I cleared it, and now it's not. So it's not horrible, but it's not as good as it was. And I don't know, I guess just with experience, you can basically know what the clear is going to do to the acrylic underneath it. I don't know. It's kind of wild. But I'm fairly happy. I mean, it's not not perfect, but it's way better than the Playfield that's in there, I'll tell you that. So I guess in terms of that 2K product, it lays down pretty well. I mean, a lot better than regular spray paint. You got to take some extra precautions. You really have to. But the result is a much better finish. I mean, it's just silky smooth. So if I had to do this again, I think I would try to do it with one can and with one coat. I think I'd get it sanded, do all the touch-ups, and then do a quick spray of dusting it, and then flood it, and just do it in one episode of painting instead of doing it in two. And instead of trying to paint on top and instead of trying to do the touch-up ones on top of the first coat. I've seen people suggest doing it both ways. I haven't done it the other way, but I think I'd try to do that the other way next. We'd rather paint directly on Playfield and then just put one heavy coat on top of that. Anyway, so this is going to be a fairly long series because I'm going to basically swap this Playfield into the funhouse. Here, I'll show you this Playfield compared to what it's going into. So here's the original game. It's got wear in the same spots as this other one did. It's got where the ball drops down from there. It's got that wear spot right there at the end of my finger, which was actually that one there. So there's another one right up there in front of Rudy's face. This one had a little bit, but not too bad. It just touched up. Right around in here, it's pretty worn. That's these touch-ups right here. But this thing has the mylar on top of this bubbling up, and it's pretty ratted out. Right, the pop bumpers. This one's totally worn out. This one had a little touch-up right there. If you could, yeah, right there. Looks touched up. But this thing's going to be a big improvement to this. So, but again, it's not the 2K. It's not. I haven't ever done the two-part using a spray gun. I've never done that. I'm sure the can is compromised in terms of what you can do with spray. I mean, you can't control the pressure. You can't control the pattern. You've just got coming out of a can. But gosh, for $20 and a disposable setup, it's not a bad solution. I mean, I'm sure it's not the best, but it's not a bad one. That's what I'd say. So anyway, if you like this video, click like and hit the subscribe button. Cheers.